Good day, everyone. All right, I'm going to show this link out, hopefully quickly. Share it in Discord and on Twitter. All right. All right, so the long setup I'm considering here is to come down and sweep this low. We just open a new 4-hour candle and then reclaim it. But the reclaim is very important. This would be our golden pocket from these pivot lows to this pivot high. Just a key fib level and then a retest of the previous range highs if we come and tap that. But yeah, that's the setup I'd be interested in. Oh, sorry. We're just saying it's the golden pocket from this pivot low to this pivot high. Retest of these range highs. But need to see some strength there. So we'll see. I mean, obviously it looks likely we take these local lows. Now I'm always using risk management. This is just a setup. Probably the last kind of idea here before, you know, this $20,000 level. The other option is just waiting for this range high to be reclaimed. Obviously your risk reward would be a little less. So obviously I was waiting for the range lows to be taken as per last night's live stream, these lows. But we didn't get a reclaim, so there was no long trigger. This is the other setup I'd consider. Now, you have to invalidate somewhere, and with a swing failure, you usually want to invalidate under the previous low. It's possible we just come down and wick that low again, so I'll be watching all of this structure as it develops. And of course we could just break down here, which is for me no long. But expecting this idea to start coming into play right away here. Yeah, I decided to do this as a public live stream because I was going to I was hoping to live stream this breakdown last night, but of course it didn't come. So I thought, what the heck, I'll pop on live stream. You guys should be able to see the screen now, right? I think I was just on the trading view there. Also watching this volume. So big volume in these 5-minute candles. 24 million, 73, 39, 71. Obviously a lot of longs getting stopped out. Big decrease in open interest. Someone said, why the 6.5 and not the 6.18? You know, obviously there's the previous range highs, this confluence here for a low, but it's more of a region, and I'm not so worried about where the low comes in per se, because I'm waiting for the reclaim anyways. So whether the low comes in here or here. Kind of irrelevant. Because I'm not particularly interested in trying to long the exact low of this move, which I pointed out in the members Discord earlier, is this price was breaking down. You really don't want to try to predict that there's going to be a reclaim. Either wait for the reclaim of the old range lows or wait for some structure to develop. All right. Watching this volume here. Just getting ready to execute with risk management if we hold this low. So that's my long trigger with using risk management, of course. I should actually update that in the Discord really quick. Now I want to watch price develop here because we could come back down and retest these lows very easily. Certainly see some longs starting to come in here. See the big imbalance between long and short, so certainly trying to put some pressure on these sell orders. Throw something in here. Yeah, I just said I went long. My trigger was to sweep this low and reclaim it. I like the timing of this new 4-hour candle here. We're about 20 minutes into it. But I want to keep an eye on things here. Obviously, we can see a ton of buying pressure coming in. So like these are all the market sells to market buys. A big imbalance here. 1.3 million buys, 1.7, 560K, 1.8 million, 2.8, 1.8. A lot of selling pressure. But that can get absorbed. So, and a nice block of sell orders here at the low. But yeah, just remaining patient. You know, I like the risk reward of this setup, but I'm not necessarily super convinced that the position will hold. I think the nice tight invalidation here is good. Obviously, this was an idea, but my invalidation is going to be under the low that we put in, because that's just technically where you invalidate a swing failure. And I know this is a very local swing failure, and so you could argue deeper invalidation, but you know, where really is the structure here? Oops, I'm on the wrong screen. So sorry, I was saying, so my invalidation is under this low, because this was just, you know, an example from earlier. But it would be hard to argue putting your stop deeper unless you're just guessing that there's going to be another swing failure of a local low, in which case I would just reopen my long, but and wait for the reclaim. But there's no structure here, so if you're not playing local structure, I don't really know if it makes sense to even be trying to invalidate this somewhere else. So we see a huge imbalance of buying to selling coming in here, which could just resort in another move down if it gets absorbed, right? So you have 14 million volume in this candle with a 9.2 million positive delta. That means there's 9.2 million more buys than sells, which you certainly want to see buying pressure come in after this low gets put in, because you need that to move the price up. But of course, all these buying orders can get absorbed and forced out, which I would be one of them. Not a big deal though. So you want to kind of start seeing some continuation here. You want to see these lows hold. Or you start having something like this where you just keep grinding down and maybe putting in a low later. And you can see here in this candle, we had a big imbalance with 24 million volume and 14 million negative delta. And again, always using risk management. I need to make that clear. There'll be no end to opportunities and trades in this market, so no reason to go crazy. And if we get something like this and I get stopped out, well, I just wait for another reclaim and I just trade it as a separate setup. Yeah, there's certainly an opportunity to wreck these longs here. They start getting put underwater. But I don't really try to guess which way price is going to go at this point. I have my long trigger. That sweep of these local lows. We'll just see what happens. I wouldn't mind seeing some more aggressive shorting here. This candle, we have some longs closing, some shorts opening, some longs opening. Delta is relatively neutral. Someone's saying look at the confluence between the range high on January 18th and the 6.5. Yeah, I haven't marked out previous range highs. It's labeled there, although it's not quite pulled accurately. But sometimes scalping this local structure, as long as you have key levels below, can be a great way to find clean entries. No, Pendex saying, with such a small stop, doesn't your risk get affected with slippage and fees? Normally a 0.5% stop loss on Bitcoin loses me 1.5R instead of 1R. Yeah, I mean, you always have to consider that there's going to be fees and might be slippage. Always hard to know how much slippage. Usually this pairing has very decent liquidity. But the distance of your stop doesn't necessarily affect your fees or your slippage, right? Like just mathematically, slippage and fees are going to account for a larger percentage of your stop loss if it's close. But it's not like I would pay less fees if I put my stop down here. So I'm only running a tight stop because there's not really any other clear invalidation. I mean, you could just run it wider, run it under these range highs. But I would probably rather consider re-entering than that. Because the idea of re-entering is you have some chance that this position holds, which means you end up with a bit bigger position. And you have to think of it over trading 100 positions. It doesn't really matter if this one holds or not. And sometimes you end up having to reassess and re-enter on strength, or you just get stopped out, price breaks down, in which case you took a smaller stop. But in this situation, I don't mind running a tighter stop and reassessing. Someone's saying, look at ETH, don't I think it can fall to 1500? I mean, I think anything's possible. I'm just trading levels. ETH right now is within an ascending structure. ETH typically likes the 786, so we do have that untap below us under these lows. So something like this might not make, might make a lot of sense. Coming down, sweeping this low, tapping the 786, reclaiming this low would be a sign of strength. Seeing a little bit of strength coming in here and price action. You know, this is a pretty decent volume candle with a positive delta, but we need some follow through here. I don't know if we particularly have that many shorts to squeeze out, but there certainly are. I mean, there are some. There's just not a lot of shorts opening down here. Yeah. There's kind of two scenarios here. One, we just keep ranging. We come retest these lows. The other just being a sharp reversal. I mean, two bullish scenarios here. The third scenario is, of course, just a continuation. Because it's worth noting that this is this long is on the aggressive side, right? We are certainly breaking down all relevant structure here. So this is playing low time frame structure for the idea of a deviation kind of fake out of these range lows and then a squeeze back up into them. And I would be targeting for some leg of this 26,000, but you don't expect that to happen overnight even if we rally. So first we have to reclaim the range, and then we have to contest with resistance in the range. You know, you can always end up ranging for another month. So we'll be looking for opportunities to take profits, to look for shorts, and add to longs if we do continue ranging. We even, you know, it's even important just to break this local bear structure. We need to break the lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Make a higher high. Obviously, that's going to be probably our first opportunity for a fake out, swing failure. So we'll just see. We'll watch price action develop just for fun. I'm really not likely to jump in or out of my position trying to guess which way price is going to go locally here. But we can probably analyze it, and there's probably some things to learn. It's always interesting to watch low time frame price action after a big breakdown like this. Usually you get nice volume. Order flow concepts are a little more clear. Matrix is saying, did you play any shorts before this big fall? And if not, why? And he said, do you think your long is biased based on what you want from the market? Yeah, I have tons of shorts. I have shorts on like 5 altcoins from the top. I have shorts on Bitcoin. I shorted, you know, I play ranges, right? So people always ask me this, like, I mean, I'm not saying I caught every short, but I shorted up here, and I was bullish for continuation, but we were in a range and we had a swing failure. So, um, yeah, I trade ranges. People always ask me like if I'm shorting when price is rallying, am I biased, or if I'm taking longs down on moves like this. But I trade support and resistance, short and long. So obviously, by that definition, I'm going to be counter trading price action and the direction of price often. But a lot of my main short positions are alts. If you go back a week or so, I tweeted a bunch of alt shorts I took and said, maybe I can hold these as swings. And, these reversals can happen quickly. They can catch people by surprise. I'm not saying one will, but you break down, you consolidate for an hour, and then a reversal happens and people are like, what the hell? So if I get a good setup, I don't mind trading them aggressively. But just keep in mind, I'm not sitting here like, hey, I know what's going to happen. I'm taking it long because price is going to rally. This is going to be a big swing trade to 50K. I'm trying to stay really reasonable. I'm watching things locally here. The long setup makes sense to me. And even if price starts rallying, I mean, you can't really celebrate too much because until you've taken profits off your position, it's sort of meaningless, right? But certainly getting a nice reaction. And obviously alts are likely to pivot with Bitcoin. We all understand that to some degree. So Bitcoin's important to watch even if you're planning on just trading alts. Yeah, so people are telling me to look at ETH. Well, the thing about ETH is way more than Bitcoin, it loves to hold established trend lines. Like this low came in on a trend line, this low came in on a trend line. So whether or not we take this low is up for grabs, certainly. Showing some strength here, without a doubt. Lots of volume. So, we'll see. It might just rally with Bitcoin, but so we've obviously, just like on a low time frame structural perspective, you can see here price is coming down. And here we're consolidating, form a little bit of a bearish trend. We get that swing failure. That's where I entered long. Now we're breaking out of that local bearish structure. But that being said, then we could just start forming a horizontal range. People could get really bullish. You could see a ton of longs opening here. Then they get squeezed out. And then this range could form that can just chop people trying to break out long. They get stopped out. They try to break down short. They get stopped out. That typically is what creates local ranges. Someone's asking if I can quickly explain footprint charts. Yeah, I'll do a quick explanation. This is again stuff I teach at the Lucky Apes trading floor, but it's not that complicated, so I'll explain really quick. This is just volume. You can put other stats on here. This here is your delta in the bar, so it's just telling you if there was more aggressive selling or buying. So more market buys or market sells. Here you have more market buys. So you start to see a lot of buying pressure coming in on this candle. which sometimes can result in just those longs getting stopped out. But we don't really have any bearish absorption here. This last row is cumulative volume delta. So you can see, you know, this is typically what you'll see me reference as a, I'll just pull it up here actually. Actually, we do have some bearish absorption starting to form locally here. This line is gathered from that bottom bar. So it's your CVD, your cumulative volume delta. So we're seeing locally we have positive CVD, but when you start to see price struggling to make new highs, now this is low time frame, this is developing CVD. You'll see this leg changing because it's represented by an ongoing bar. So if we break out, then it's not bearish anymore. But typically when you see CVD aggressively going up and price stopping, that tells you there's aggressive buying pressure. But why isn't price going up? Well, there's limit sell orders absorbing price. So you always have to watch for that. And before this big move down, we saw very defined bearish absorption locally, which is here, which is you see this aggressive buying pressure coming in, but price is struggling to make a new high while CVD is making a new high. So that's aggressive buying pressure being absorbed means lots of people longing, but what happens if price gets absorbed and reverses? Well, they're going to get stopped out and wrecked. So it's sort of a way to see where the bigger traders are at. So I'll say this, it's atypical to have a breakout on the first attempt here. And the most likely scenario is actually, you see a lot of aggressive buying pressure coming in here, is actually that we sweep this high, reject, and I get stopped out of my long. That is the most likely outcome here. So you're sort of, you're sort of at a key point, a key juncture here. It's always possible that we just reverse and break out. And what's going to tell us? Well, if we reverse and break out. Or sorry, yeah. So yeah, obviously we have positive delta here. Some longs opening, some shorts closing. Open interest relatively flat. But local bearish absorption, very low time frame, gets invalidated if we break out here. Which, like I said, breakout isn't typically the most likely outcome on a first attempt, but anything's possible. I love Matrix. You're like, it's like 20 questions here. You're asking me if I took any shorts, if I'm biased, but did I take any shorts before today? I don't know what the. No, I didn't take any shorts. Or did you say did I take any shorts today? I didn't take any shorts today. I had a short idea today, which was this morning I wanted to short a retest of the POC that we front ran. So I was prepared to short if we got that retest, but we never got it. The thing about, like, for my trading style, obviously it's impossible to know if there's any bias to some degree. You know, in some sense you have to have some bias to put on a position, right? Because you're trading a certain direction, but I have specific things that I just trade that are triggers for me. A lot of times I don't necessarily think, hey, I don't think this trade's going to work, but I'll take it anyways because I have a technical trigger. So when that's the case, I just take the trade, and oftentimes what I think is going to happen is sort of irrelevant. I have defined technical triggers. I don't use EMAs or RSI. RSI is, you know, it's you're measuring kind of momentum shifts in price, and you can just look at that by looking at a trend. I don't think people actually understand what RSI is telling them. Like, I don't think they understand how RSI is calculated. I don't think people would rely on it so much if they did. So we're testing the highs here, but we should note that there's local bearish absorption, so pretty defined bearish absorption. So this is where you likely start to see that ranging price action, but we'll see. Local structure is really important. And there's arguments to be made to take profits on the long here and then look to compound it, right? Like, that's not an unreasonable thing to do, per se. A little more weakness. It's already been about a 1% move, so can wait for local structure to break or something like that. I mean, I'm obviously looking at the 1 minute chart. But if you get something like, you know, a break of these lows, you take profits, and you can even look to add on a retest or something back to your original size, which ultimately reduces the overall risk in your position. But you can just find it awkward sometimes taking profit on low time frame price action. I do it often because then you have to, if price breaks out, then you can end up wanting to chase price to add, bring up your average entry, and then it just gets kind of weird if you don't handle it properly. Someone's asking if I'm in a long or a short. I'm in a long. I longed right here at the beginning of the stream. So price was coming down. I explained this was my long trigger. And this is just a classic technical setup I trade all the time. I mean, this is on a 1 minute chart, obviously, but I trade the 1 minute charts all the time. So you have these lows consolidating, price breaks below the low, grabs that liquidity, retest the level, so you can enter on the retest as well, and then continues. But you really have to just watch level to level because price is still in a local range. Clover E is asking if I'd recommend or reckon putting stop on break even now. I think it's fine to if you want to, but you have to realize that, you know, you may just have to be looking to re-enter if there's another retest of this level. The easiest position here is, I mean, the easiest outcome would just be a big breakout, obviously, right? Big breakout, never look back, and then you don't really have to think about your position at all. But if we do break out, then we got to look at our next level of resistance, which is the old range lows. Because a common theme in breakdowns is price breaks the level and then retest it as resistance and continues. So the next thing you'd be looking for is price rejecting from here, which some reaction there is usually going to happen no matter what. Or can we reclaim that level? In which case, a lot more bullish. Then you're testing the old point of control of the range above this liquidity, above this high. And that's the next level to watch for potential hedge shorts or profit taking. Don't need to trade at every level, but it's good to be aware of the levels that matter. But if we can break this high and get a nice move here, well, then it can become support. And longs might carry. But this bearish absorption is, it's not irrelevant here. I just realized I had ETH pulled up there. Still the same structure and basic idea here, but yeah. So you can just see, there's aggressive buying pressure coming in here, but there is bearish absorption, which does just say the most likely outcome is a retracement from here. It can be a local retracement, but that is the most likely outcome. And I would even consider taking profits if this breaks down, and then just consider adding back to my position back at the retest of the lows. Obviously an aggressive profit-taking idea there, but I'm just playing probabilities, so I can always find a new opportunity to add if we break out. I am going to just let the Discord know I took profits here. And the idea here, for me, I'm obviously trading decent size. With this move, it's a decent move. I mean, it's 0.7, 0.8% from entry. And when I add back to my position, then I can add back to my original size, keep my invalidation the same. Of course, I won't add back if there's no reaction here. And because these profits actually offset my risk considerably. So there's almost no risk left in the position in this scenario. And the scenario where we just go straight up, which again isn't usually the most likely scenario, I still have some longs running, and hopefully I find technical ideas to add on. And if I don't, I mean, it's very unlikely I don't, right? You can add on a reclaim of the range lows, lots of things like that. So it's very easy to want to become, I'm on the wrong screen again. All right. I was just saying that I can add on a retest down here if there's strength, and these profits offset a lot of that risk in my position. But I can always add on a reclaim of the range lows. But anyways, what I was going to say is that it's very easy to become married to what you think is some god entry, and you're like, oh, I long the exact bottom of this move, just like I thought would happen. But all I have to do to consider taking profits is watch this bearish absorption forming, all these longs getting absorbed locally, and the odds that I don't get a chance to just add back lower are really low, so I'm just going to take profits. And I just do it. I don't really have to think too much about it. So what time is it? So we have the daily close in 3 hours. So there's an argument to be made here that we probably are likely to consolidate in range to some degree for the next 3 hours at least, and maybe put in a more directional move in a few hours. But for me, I'll be looking for them bullish absorption at the lows, and if we don't get it, I may wait for this low to be swept and reopen my long there. I'll just be watching order flow and seeing how price develops. So usually when, I give a lot of, I pretty much update every position I take as I take it. I usually do in the Discord. Like I'll always, an example would be as price was coming down, I said the local long setup I would consider is, price to consolidate and then sweep these lows into this new 4-hour candle, reclaim them, that'd be my long trigger. And then I'd say if I took the long, usually. But what I'll say is what goes into that is I'm usually just watching all this stuff, trying to make a reasonable, informed decision. And you're not always right, of course. But I usually just try to stay reasonable. No reason to hold that whole long position with that bearish absorption forming and the reaction from this local resistance. I took 50% off my position. But yeah, the whole idea here of this live stream is, just to be instructional, obviously. If there's anything to kind of glean from all of this for anyone they can take away with them for future ideas. And just to show too that you don't have to be in a panic when price is breaking down. You don't have to make rash decisions. Just sitting here, is price going to break down? Is it going to go up? No one knows. You play local levels here and just try to stay calm and reasonable. I do kind of want to I know everybody wants me to just sit on live stream all day. I do kind of want to get some coffee and maybe eat some food I really do prefer, like, I like watching those initial moves like this and stuff on live stream, talking about them. But, you know, obviously I've spent so much time at my computer, and my preference in situations like this is to set alerts and not necessarily sit and stare at the chart for 3 hours while price ranges. You know, you can set alerts, come back and look at things when something interesting happens, understanding that, you know, locally ranging is probably the most likely scenario over the next 3 hours, and that the rest of that long likely going to get stopped out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it does, but probably willing to reopen longs on sweeps of that low. And if I scalp this range kind of reasonably, I mean, I technically could have scalped the short there, then I'll probably come out okay. Even if my longs end up losing, like we break down, if I've scalped enough profits off of them with nice ads at the lows, the profits usually offset the stop loss in the case of a breakdown. Someone's asking if I have a monitor I can recommend. I really don't. I don't really think it matters. I mean, obviously, the more stuff you have on your screen, the bigger the monitor, the better, but I'm not like a super tech guy that knows all the best monitors or anything like that. So we can see here, starting to see some selling pressure, decrease in open interest. So mostly longs closing, but some shorts opening. Got negative delta coming in. But we see there was big positive delta, like 1.4 million, 1,677,000. These are pretty much longs primarily, opening at the tops of this move, and now they're getting wrecked locally, and they'll get stopped out. You know, they long the local top, I long the local bottom, and I don't like opening longs up here. I'd rather be taking profits off my longs. But you'll often see that, you know, there's a reason. If we go back, oh, it's going to be kind of hard to zoom in. Yeah, never mind. If we go back to the top of these moves, it's primarily longs opening. You don't almost ever see aggressive shorting at the highs, which I'm usually aggressively shorting, and you rarely see aggressive longing at the lows. Oh yeah, a couple people asked me. I think a couple different people about a monitor. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really think it would matter. I don't think there's anything too special about my monitors. Someone says, how many monitors do you have? I have about 65. I'm just kidding. I guess technically 3. But one's a laptop. This is ExoCharts. It's not free, but there are free versions. There are free softwares that are similar. But yeah, so happy to have taken profits there. De-risk my position a lot to essentially just a free position. I'm anticipating getting stopped out on the rest because this bearish absorption there's no bullish absorption here. So, but usually price action forms ranges, and I'm certainly interested in longs here still. So I can just kind of play this smart with reclaims of these levels. If we break down, I'm not going to long. If we reclaim, I'll reopen. If I get stopped out, that's fine. But I want to see some aggressive shorting coming in here. That would be my... Like, I'd like to see... Because a lot of this is all just longs getting stopped out. I'd like to see a move come down and tons of shorts open into it, and then price start reversing to get that nice short squeeze. But like I said, I know it doesn't necessarily seem likely now and anything can happen, but it is likely. More likely than not that we locally range for the next 3 hours. Which is why I took profits off this long. And we could already start to see the signs of that range forming here on the 5-minute chart. So we already have a liquidity idea up here now. So, you know, maybe we take this low, maybe we just test the lows here. Maybe we sweep this high, then we re-enter the range. 3 hours later, you just have a perfectly technical range formed. And I'll be looking at all the CVD divergences as we form that range if we do. But I'm a very aggressive trader in terms of I'm happy to have a plan to trade something like this swing failure. And so because this range is likely going to result in a very sustained move, either up or down, I'm happy to trade it aggressively. And I could have argued that I should have shorted here as well. I should technically, and I might look to do this throughout the day if I get the opportunity, I should technically be looking to short the local highs of this range and long the local lows, take profits on either end, and let whatever accumulated positions I have run for a breakout or breakdown. That would be the most sound way to trade this. Obviously, you've got to be very comfortable or confident in what you're doing, trading low time frame price action, or you're going to end up getting chopped up trying to trade a local range like this on a low time frame. Someone's asking if I always open my positions manually or if I use limit orders. I almost always market order. I usually like to, because I like to look at all this nonsense I've been going over. So if I just have limit order set, I can't really see what's going on. Where being able to look at what's going on is a nice advantage, I think. So what I'll do is I'm going to see what we get at this retest here. And if we get a reaction, I might wrap up the stream. Like, I'll see what happens here, because this is sort of a pivotal retest. You have your swing failure retest. Always a nice kind of idea to be watching. Because this is your technical price action that you're looking at for a local swing failure. Take the level, come back, retest it. Now, do I necessarily think this is now going to be like, you know, maybe we get a strong reaction, maybe we even take the range highs again? Going to be the absolute low of the move and there's a retest? Not necessarily, but this could generate enough of a move to at least send us to the highs of the range here. No bullish absorption here. So that, in that sense, probably likely we see a little lower here, or take this low. It's counterintuitive, but the thing is, you actually want to see heavy selling and shorting at the lows is a little more bullish than seeing either low volume or buying. Like you would think, oh, this is good for momentum and price if you see all this buying pressure coming in, all this positive delta market buys, millions and millions of dollars of market buys. But that's actually typically bearish because the market is always trying to wreck the most people at the most time. So what you really want to see a lot of times is heavy shorting coming in these ranges, getting absorbed, and that's usually your best indicator that you're likely to get a reversal when you see lots of selling at the lows. Yeah, someone said, so I want to see people doing the wrong thing, question, laughy emoji. I mean, yeah, I guess so. I want to be counter trading the majority of people. I want people to get, you want people to be really bearish at the lows and shorting it aggressively, but price not breaking down, a range sustaining. But anyways, I don't want to get, so for the average, if you're a new trader, you should just be trading with fake money. Trade with paper accounts and learn ideas and learn a process. And I don't necessarily want to encourage people to look at the 1 minute chart. I'm only looking at the 1 minute chart because I have high time frame ideas here. I'm just looking at the low time frame interaction with this level and low time frame order flow. But yeah, for the average trader, if you're trying to run tight stops and TP, I mean, obviously this is 2.5 hours, something like that, but TP aggressively and short 1 minute price action, you're going to get wrecked. You really, really, really need to know what you're doing. Most people are better off to trade much smaller and much wider. Long setups that look a little more like this than the one that I had, like that really aggressive long on this wick. But I am just explaining how I trade. I mean, it's just is what it is. So, but I'm not necessarily encouraging new traders to trade this way. You can kind of adapt these concepts to higher time frame ideas. But anyways, here we are. I think I'm going to wrap up the live stream. The daily closes in 2.5 hours. I'll obviously be giving updates in the Discord. But I'm anticipating a range forming here into the daily close. So we'll see if that happens or not. But I have a long position with take a profit taken up here. There's a case for adding here, but I did not. I didn't like the lack of bullish absorption, but certainly a retest. I had said earlier that my plan was to add here, but I didn't. So I'm not going to chase it. I'm going to see if we develop a range here over the next couple hours, and I can look for opportunities to add. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in. I just wanted to catch this breakdown on a live stream because I missed it yesterday because we didn't get it. But here we are. I've kind of gone over my thoughts in detail, I think. Got a nice hour live stream in.